Hello everyone. This is Lory, um, and I hope you are having a good time. Um, Tomorrow, I will be among the panelists in JB's event, which will cover personal projects that one can do, which in my case is prior to certification. And the thing was, so after I finished my superset before the admin certification exam. I stepped back and I asked myself, what did I actually learn? I wasn't sure that I actually learned anything. As you know, Trailhead, you just click, 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 click. And it's mainly trying to get you familiar with the platform. But the thing was, did you actually understand what you were doing? That was the question that I had when I finished the superset. So I stepped back and I was like, okay, I want to build something. And excuse me, I wanted to build an app. At first, I was like paralyzed. I was like, how do I start that? And as if on cue, I encountered on LinkedIn a video by Mike Wheeler, and it was build an app in less than 12 minutes. So I clicked on that, watched the YouTube video. It was a mileage tracker app, and it was so simple. And after I watched that, I was like, oh, I can do something like that. So I did it. I started looking at my hobbies to have an idea what do I want to make. So I have been an avid canner, home canning, and I have been making my own lotions from scratch. I have plenty other hobbies, but those are the ones that I chose to make an app for. For the canning tracker, because I'm an avid gardener, I usually would have a lot of produce, tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, cabbage, carrots, etc., etc. So I have here a list of my usual plants that I would plant in my garden. And here's a picture of some of my previous canned goods. This is my homepage. My purpose is to keep track of how many canned goods I have produced versus my target for the season. So I kind of plugged in some hypothetical numbers here just to see how my report would look like. And so in this chart, I have like tomato base, which as you can see dominates my total. Some of them are stewed beef and vegetables, spaghetti sauce, soups and stews, sauerkraut, pickles, chili, um, to name a few. So for the canning tracker app, I have a plant object, which I only use it to track the number of plants or the rows of small plants that I put in my garden for the season. That way, at the end of the canning season, if I reached my target, that meant that I planted enough. If I and I might have more produce than I wanted, so that I might decide to plant less the next year, right? The thing is, I did not want to plant too much because it can get so busy and so crazy, and it can be so tiring. So this is my other object, the canning projects object, which I would use to track how many total can jars per project at the end of the season. Because, like I said, I want to know if I have enough so I can stop canning. Canning can be really, really tiring. I enjoy it. I enjoyed seeing how much I put away for the winter coming from my organic garden. But it is very, very tiring. Um, so, this is how the initial record would look like before I save it. So I have multi-pick list and simple formula fields here that calculates depending on these two numbers. Well, depending on these numbers and depending on my target number. Okay. And I use the multi-pick list so that on my search list, let's say I have a lot of green beans from the garden, and I would be like, what do I want to do with my green beans today? So I would type it in my search list, green beans, and then it would show me what canning projects have green beans. Okay, so this was my report. Um, Shows here the number of jars that I canned, which are I bucketed them. Tomato based. This should be like I don't know why it did not get bucketed. I probably did it later, but forgot to revise my report. Um, so yeah, it will show me how many more I need to make based on my target minus the number of jars that I already canned. Now for the second app that I made, it was a Lotion trial tracker app, which I made that like less than a week after the first one because I was so excited. It can get addicting once you start making apps. So I use this, and I have on my homepage the instructions on how to use this. This was meant so that um, if you're still, if I had to go back to the time that I was still formulating my lotions, then how would I check how I like a certain ingredient and how it would affect the properties of the lotion? So this would have been it. But for now, I have my proprietary recipe already for my favorite lotion. And I used to sell them. I had a lot of really glowing reviews on my lotions, but I digress. So the purpose of this tracker app is to test the effect of a change in one ingredient on the quality of the lotion. Quality can be drag, can be too oily, can be some lotion I guess can be drying, and some lotion can be too wet or too thin or too thick, those things. Um, so in order for me to do this, I needed to make a small batch, not less than 250. Why? Because lotion making is based on emulsifying a mixture of water and oil. If I had, and I use a stick blender to emulsify it. It has a special blade that emulsifies. Um, if that head of the stick blender goes into the container, but the amount of the mixture is not enough to cover the whole head of the stick blender, then as it turns around and mixes, it will incorporate a lot of air, which you don't want in lotion. You don't want too much air in there. So it has to be so that the amount is more than it will reach above the head of the stick blender. Okay, that's why I have that requirement there. And then I would have to test just one ingredient every time that I will test for the quality effect. So I vary one ingredient, and then I will after I put the total amount and choose. Oops, sorry. And choose one of the either soft oils or hard oils. Then I will print out or I will save that record, and it will auto-calculate the amount of each ingredient. And then I would make the lotion. Theoretically, I would make the lotion. It will be hot to start with, so I would wait for it to after emulsifying. I would wait for it to become cooler, and then I would test it. And then I would have to update the record in the notes field to document the qualities of the lotion. Once I save it again after updating, I have made it so that it automatically sends me a copy of the updated record via email so that I will have a documentation of that outside of my org. So validation rule was applied. It will be hard to effectively emulsify less than 250 grams of lotion is my help text for that one. And then I have required fields here. Okay. I have thick list for the soft oil and the hard oil. Like I said, I only have to choose one ingredient to test over time, to vary over time and test. So once I entered the amount of the batch, which was minimum of 250, it would auto-calculate each ingredient for how much I should measure. So again, there are formula fields, okay? Oops. Sorry, I keep messing this up. Okay, so after the Lotion Tracker app, well, after the lotion is made, and I will make a note, like I said, I will put the notes in there and then save it to update, and then it gives me an email containing the same note, okay? And that was the batch number. So the third app that I made, my use case was after I formed the Healthcare Heroes Force group, which was founded in January 23, and right now we have about 200 members already. I started doing informational interviews of people. They can be employees of companies who are dealing with healthcare clients. They can be recruiters. They can be healthcare workers, well, prior healthcare workers who are now working with healthcare clients or using Health Cloud. Or they can be doing something else totally different, like being an app developer for a real estate company. So anyway, with the variety of people's background, I have a lot in mind of possible interviewees. And because of this, I started getting worried about how I can keep track of who I have scheduled for interviews, who I've reached out to, etc. So in order for me to keep track of where I was with each person that I targeted, I made an app where I can say, did I reach out to this person already? Did the person actually schedule my interview with her or him already? Did I send the Zoom invite? Did I posted the Zoom invite on the LinkedIn group? Did we do the interview already? Did I update the video already? Do I already have the link to the YouTube video posted in the LinkedIn group? So those are the things that I kept track here. And this table here shows the date and time of the person. I also have another column there for the member that I paired to interview the person, because I don't always do the interviewing. Now, this is the fourth application, fourth app that I made, job application tracker app. And this, I really made sure that I had it ready before I was certified, because I wanted to keep track properly of the companies and where I was at in the process of application. So at first I thought that I was going to do something so complicated, until I realized I would just use out of the box um, functionalities. And so I used the standard objects. I renamed the opportunities as job posting, and I renamed the accounts as companies. And the contact types, I have them group, the contacts, I have them into three types: recruiter, employee connection, or hiring manager. Recruiter being an outsider, like contracted by the company to look for talents, and employee connection could be my connection who works in the company. Hiring manager, of course, the big kahuna of hiring in the company. So um, this is just a visual representation of how many job postings I have in my list. So let's say I have, this is the page for my job postings, and I have set it into a Kanban view so that I know which companies are in the planning stage, which companies I've submitted application to, and which companies have proceeded. It's like a race, actually. And then for each job posting, I have stages, like I said. So this is to keep track of who was the interviewer, what my notes were during the interview, and whatnot. It makes it easy for me to keep track of where I am in the process, who I've talked to, etc., etc. Also, with the job application tracker app, I have my resume in the files, and I've actually tried using the email already. I got a verification that this was sent, actually, because in my personal email I had a list of sent emails, and it was there. Although the one I emailed did not actually reply. Okay, so this is the fifth project that I had before I got certified, my portfolio that I built using Experience Cloud. And this is the one that I am most proud of, because when I posted about it on LinkedIn, so many people were asking me questions that I figured I would just hold workshops instead of answering each question, because there were so many. And of course, some people would ask the same question that were asked already by others. So I figured holding workshops would be better, and it has expanded my network. When I started holding workshops, I have made a lot of friends. I helped a lot, and it really felt so good. So I advocate. I actually have an article that I wrote about why you should leverage building your portfolio on Salesforce Experience Cloud if you are an entry level Salesforce professional? Well, for one thing, um, if you've been making a lot of projects, you can have a projects page on your portfolio where you can feature all of your apps or your projects, right? It's a beautiful way to keep to put everything together in this portfolio so that your potential employer, the recruiters, etc., can have an easy can find it easily where your certificates are, what you've been doing. So this is all your story. You can put the story about your Salesforce journey in this platform. And I highly suggest that if you're just beginning your journey, to build this already. Consider it like a house, like a framework, so that as you learn Salesforce, you will start putting contents into this. It's like putting furnitures in an empty house. And in the end, it will be beautiful. So another page that I have there is a community page where I have some of my self-initiated endeavors like my Healthcare Heroes Force group and my workshops for building personal portfolio. I have here a list of my groups, the groups that I am active in. There's another one there for Trailblazer community, like we have now. Um, yeah, I should update this actually. I have some more groups that I have added. So another feature of Salesforce that I use and I demo in my portfolio is the use of the web to lead form in your org. So you use the web to lead form, you paste that in the guest book. Whoever signs your guest book, once they click submit, that information will go to your job application tracker app in the leads list. And then I actually used a flow to notify me if an email, to notify me via email if a visitor actually signed my guest book. And it was cool. It was actually demonstrated. I demonstrated it during the workshops that I held, and it was so cool to see because I would encourage the participants to sign my guest book, and then I will show them my leads list, which were like empty to start with, and then after I refresh, their names would be there, and then I would show my email that I got the notification. It's really cool, and I have these in my YouTube channel. I have a recording of my last workshop that I held. I actually was asked by Sarah Epting of Technopath to hold a portfolio building class in her NPSP masterclass, which was really such an honor for me. It is a validation that I am indeed um, a teacher, a mentor. So I'm really excited. That will be on Thursday. I'm not sure. I don't think it's gonna be record. Well, it's probably gonna be only available to the students in her master class. But if you're interested in nonprofits, go check out Technopath and connect with Sarah Epting. Now, this is not really a project, but this is something that's interesting because it impressed the recruiter who saw my resume that had the QR code on the header. So on my resume, I added this QR code for my portfolio because resumes really to me are very boring. I mean, what could I put in my resume that would be impressive enough that's technical? You know what I mean? Because I'm not that experienced in technology. I mean, this career is new to me. So it's hard to translate my experiences in nursing into words that would be scanned by the application tracker, something something. ATS. It's a software that's used by companies to scan over the applications so that they end up with the resumes with some buzzwords and I don't know numbers. So if they had to start with this thick um, pile of resumes, the scanner would lessen that so that the recruiter will only look at those resumes. So I'm still hoping that it would my resume would end up in on the table of a recruiter or the hiring manager. But then how do I stand out? I thought I'd put this QR code for my portfolio. So if they happen to be curious, they can use their cell phone to scan this and then they will see my portfolio. And I hope that they would be impressed with my portfolio. But that definitely, having the QR code on my resume actually really impressed the recruiter. And then she proceeded to read my resume. She was impressed with how I was active in the community and how I was actively mentoring others to build their portfolios. And that actually concludes all my projects that I did before I got certified. So please remember that if you want to learn more, if you want to dig deeper into these apps, you can actually go to my Salesforce channel, Salesforce Lory, and I have more explanations there of my apps. And also, if you are curious about the informational interviews that I had for our Healthcare Heroes Force group, you can also look that up on YouTube and just listen. And let us build together, grow together in this career, and let's succeed together. Thank you for listening.